Thank you all so much for being with us today for this conversation. My name is Ashton Mara. I am the co-founder and co-director of Reporting on Addiction. And today's conversation is part of our organization's work to help journalists cover, the billions of dollars that are coming into our communities right now from the opioid settlement litigations. Or the opioid litigation settlements, excuse me. This is Oh goodness, I think maybe this is six or seven conversations in. We try to do these conversations on a quarterly basis, and it is just a half an hour. It is a quick chat today, but you can find all of the recordings of our previous fireside chats on our website and also other resources that we've created to help journalists do this kind of reporting. And we'll share that information and links to get directly to those with you all today. So I know that there are lots of folks on the call, a mix of people who are journalists, people who are working in their communities, people with lived experience. Just a reminder that the focus of today's conversations is to support journalists who are working on covering this really complex topic. So if you're here and you're not a journalist, but you're interested in helping reporters cover this topic or do this kind of work, again, we are going to share this recording out tomorrow. So make sure that you are signed up for our newsletter. Sharing this recording with them, sharing our resources with them can really help your local newsrooms do this kind of work. So if you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, my colleague Rachel just dropped that link into the chat to help you sign up. And again, this recording will go out tomorrow so that you can rewatch it or you can share it with folks who might be covering this topic. Also in our newsletter, we share a lot of our newest resources. And, we're working on some additional supports for covering opioid litigation funds. We're finalizing one about contingency management and how to cover contingency management programs in your communities. So really make sure you're signed up. That's where we're sending out all of the newest and latest information and resources that we're working on. So today I'm going to make sure that I am recording. Yes, okay, I'm recording. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the conversation. Throughout this afternoon, if you will drop your questions into the chat, I'm going to keep track of those and we'll make sure to save time at the end to take those. I'm going to introduce our guests really quickly. So first we have Dylan Bergen. Dylan is a data reporter for Muckrock, director of the Data Liberation Project, and hosts a conversation called FOIA Friday, which is Muckrock's kind of virtual sharing of tips and taking questions on how you can improve your use of public records. And we also have Drew Solt with us, who is a graduate student at WVU. He was part of my investigative reporting class this semester and is continuing to do some reporting this summer on what we've found working with Dylan, doing FOIAs at the county level in the state of West Virginia. And Dylan is going to give us some context about that work and also help you all understand and see the process that we've gone through with Muckrock. So I am going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Dylan, and let you get started.
All right. So yeah, like Ashton said, I am a data reporter for Muckrock, and I'm going to quickly talk about what Muckrock is before going into some of the details about the requests that we filed with Ashton's class of investigative journalists at WVU. So first, I usually share this three-part definition of what Muckrock is. We are a journalism and transparency nonprofit, but above all, we love FOIA. We are primarily a website that helps you file public records requests, um, host those documents that you get back in records requests, and a small editorial team that I'm a part of that reports on public records and how they affect communities across the country. So we are this tool that I'm going to talk about in a second that helps you file requests and track requests, share them with colleagues or anyone else you're working with to file public records requests. We are the editorial team that does original investigative journalism, usually with news organizations and collaborative partners that otherwise wouldn't be able to do the same type of work without the help of our team and the tools that we build. And that is the last part of our definition of what MuckRock is. We are tools and infrastructure for accountability. We build the tool to file public records requests on our website. We also built something called Document Cloud that helps you store and share documents and primary sources. And in between, there's a lot of other small tools that we help manage and keep alive for reporters and the broader public to use. So that's a bit about Muckrock. If you get onto our website, this is what you will see. Um, the first thing that comes up is a button to file a request. Like I said, we love FOIA requests. We want you to file requests. If you click on this, you'll see news, which is, like I said, the editorial part of our organization. What we were working on with WVU and reporting on addiction is filing requests at the county level. So the first place we started is getting all the students into an account for them to collaborate in. So if you're working with a team, you'll get an account like this, and it'll show the broader organization you're in, and you'll see your colleagues. That's important because when you're filing public records requests on your own, most of the time these are being sent through your own email, and only you are the person to see those, unless you were to give someone your email password, which is probably not going to happen. Muckrock makes it possible to share those requests both publicly afterwards or during the request process. You can also embargo requests to make them public at a certain date, but you can also share them privately with your colleagues on Muckrock. And so that's what we did working with the students in this WVU class. We started filing requests at to all the different counties across the state of West Virginia. And what the students were working in is a view like this, where you can see all the requests that were being filed. Oops, I went to all requests across the website. We'll say, for example, this one. Um, and an individual student would file the request and then see a feed like this. Um, these requests, before they were filed, there were already a lot of what makes a request a good request. They're detailed. You can see we're asking for documentation of amounts the funds of Pocahontas County has received so far, records detailing which individuals or programs have been awarded the lawsuit funds, documentation related to the review or approval process, the application details, the names of individuals who will review the funding applications, and the process by which funds will be rewarded. So you can see this is a request that is a lot of good details, a lot of good documents that you would get back. It's very specific. The person receiving this request will know basically exactly what to look for in their office, or who to ask about where these documents are. That's what makes a good FOIA request. So these students started out with great requests and started going to different places across the state to ask for these documents. That's when things get complicated. There are lots of different counties who have lots of different processes. You can imagine with the type of questions we're having, there are a lot of different ways to do these different things. But just a few quick details on the technical side. So when you're looking at this request in Muckrock, you can share it with your colleagues. Like I said, you can leave yourself notes. Say an officer, FOIA officer got back to me, said call next week. Um, you could leave yourself a note like that. And then you'll just see the correspondence between you and the office going back and forth here in this feed until you receive the documents, and then you'll see those in files. What makes Muckrock, I think, so powerful is that when you're done, this request you can see is still embargoed. But when you're done, you can publish the request so other people can use the same request to file a similar request in a different state. So if you're looking at this and thinking, I'd like to work on getting similar documents in my state from different counties, when we publish these requests, you can just copy and paste the same language, just like this, into your email and file from your email. Or if you have a Muckrock account, you can just click clone, and it will clone that request and then you can just replace the language to make sure it goes to the right county in your state. Um, so yeah, with that, I'm going to pass it to Andrew to talk a little bit about how that actually worked once his class started filing these requests and hearing from offices across the country or across the state.
Thank you, Dylan. From an overall experience standpoint, it was very good for us, especially for some of us younger journalists who had not submitted FOIAs before or had very little experience doing so, and learning the process behind that. It helped us keep all of our documents separated as well as the FOIA requests separated, because as we know, the email box can get very clustered. And so having all of that in one, single document was very helpful. However, we did run into some instances where more rural communities wouldn't not agree with Muckrock or didn't want to talk in Muckrock. And we also had a couple counties where they just didn't use email to respond. And so, as most of you guys, know that you know your communities best, and sometimes picking up the phone is the best option. And in all honesty, we did have to do that often, several times to some counties to get them to talk to us, as well as we had several counties that wanted us to come in person. And a simple phone call connecting with them, talking to them, was enough for them to kind of send us those documents. So phone calls were definitely the way to go for some areas. However, Muckrock helps us, streamline the process that we were doing and helped save a lot of time. And without that time being saved, we might not have been able to meet some of the tight deadlines that we were facing and that you all will also face when you were doing your reporting. And also made us be able to communicate with each other because we were working in groups. And so to be able to see what our groups were able to find through their FOIAs was very helpful as we were doing our reporting as well. Now, after we received most of our documents, we worked with Dylan um, on setting up kind of a database. And so we have done two steps with Dylan so far. The first step was what Dylan called structuring data. So we had four categories set up as very structured, kind of structured, unstructured, and unstructured, very messy. And so we put all of our counties into those four buckets so that Dylan kind of understood where we were working and what ones we needed to put more work into. And after that, we step two was uploading the documents into DocuCloud. And that process was very simple, just uploading the documents. But I think the cool part about that was we were able to tag the documents into specific counties. And so when you go into DocuCloud and look at the database and you just want to look at one county, you just look up that one county and all the documents for the county will be right there. Those will be the only ones to show up. So instead of having to cipher through a bunch of different things, those documents were very accessible to find. I believe that now Dylan is going to talk a little bit more about the database portion.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to take y'all into the assignment that I worked through with the class. Um, so as Andrew mentioned, as a data journalist, one of the first things that I'm thinking when we start to get documents back, especially documents about monetary or numerical totals of money spent or money allocated, is what sorts of forms are these documents coming back in? It would be wonderful if every county had a very clean and well documented spreadsheet, which was very neat and formatted precisely how I needed it to be to analyze. But that is almost never the case, especially when you're going to different counties and asking them the same question about how they do things. So once we in the class started getting back the documents about settlement spending, I asked them to think through how structured these documents were in terms of the numbers about money spent they were. And just to give us all kind of a way to think it through, I asked them to put them into very structured, kind of structured, unstructured, and a mess. The reason being because I think then what we're trying to do now is build these documents into a database, so extract the data from the different documents into something that'll be a tabular form for people to analyze. Right now, you can see some of the most structured counties we got provided the documents in a ledger. Um, this one's actually maybe not the best example. Let's see if we can find one that's right side up. There we go. Um, so a computer would have a very easy time extracting this out of a document. And there are lots of different types of tools that'll help you do that. On Document Cloud, we have a few of them. But you can see here, this looks basically like the best case scenario spreadsheet that I mentioned. We have something here, something here, something here. Those are tabular rows that would be easy to extract um, for our database. Much more complicated are checks, for example, but these checks seem to be kind of structured. So let's see what we have here. Oops. Uh, okay, yeah, I would agree. This is kind of structured. So there are checks where the amounts of money are in the generally probably the same place in each part of the document. This gets a little more complicated. Here's just kind of unstructured text, more tables, which are good because those are structured. Anytime you see tables, that's nice. Um, so these are just some examples of the types of documents we got back. So we weren't just getting back spreadsheets. Again, that would be nice. Here's one county that gave us an Excel spreadsheet with funds and expenditures. Um, Looks like we categorize that as unstructured, so something must be a little bit funky about that. But otherwise, we got a lot of emails, ledgers, grants, checks, or grant funding applications, cash detailed reports, even meeting minutes. So that makes it complicated for reporters to use. And what we're working on right now is getting in this into a format that will be easier for reporters to use. Already, though, right now, as Andrew said, we have it all in a project that is public on Document Cloud, so you can access this right now, and you can look at the raw documents we have. If you're in if you're in, say, Monroe County or Mount Laurel or Greenbrier, any of these places, you can already look at the documents that we have. You can just look at this project. As you can see, you can scroll through here. And like Andrew said, you can click county and see if we have multiple documents for that county, what documents we got back. That's one of the really, I think, uh, useful features of Document Cloud is you can tag documents. This creates different ways to filter documents so you can see groups of documents at once. And you can also, when you're reviewing documents, you can add different types of notes on documents as well. Um, that would come up here in notes. So if a reporter is reviewing this and has notes they want to make on different parts of the document, you can do that as well. But for now, what you can do uh, is look through the counties that we do have, or even just search here. So I don't know, maybe some other counties mentioned Monroe County. So this searches through the text of all counties. So you could be looking for a specific or searches through the text of all the documents. So you could be looking for a specific county in that way. Um, or if you're looking for a specific topic, like I don't know, maybe some of this was spent on recovery programs. Let's see how many times the word recovery comes up in different documents. So Greenbrier has some notes about recovery. Monroe does as well. Mount Laurel. So if you're looking for a specific topic, you can search through Document Cloud as well. Um, so these are already public. As we get more documents back, they'll also go into this public repository. And again, in the meantime, we'll be thinking about how we can extract the data from these checks, emails, different places into a tabular form that would make it easy for reporters to analyze and compare different counties across the state. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you. So, as a reminder, folks, if you have questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. Um, what we're doing in West Virginia is really trying to create a baseline of process, especially in collaboration with Muckrock, so that this process can be repeated in other states. I was very lucky that I had a classroom to do it in. I had 23 students, and we had 15 weeks to get this started. I have a handful of students that are continuing on to do some reporting on what we found. But we know and we understand that this is a really serious undertaking to take on this kind of project. So Muckrock has really helped us streamline and understand and build out the resources that we need to do this and make West Virginia documents shareable. But in other states, we are hoping that you all can learn from these processes and recreate our FOIA processes, recreate our document cloud sharing processes, and all of those things to make it easier in other places to do the same type of work. To essentially, we wanted to be a guinea pig and help you all figure out how to make this happen. I've got one question from Kylie. Hello, Kylie. I hope you're doing well. Is Muckrock able to talk to other programs? For example, the city I report in has their own public records portal that they try to force you into filing requests through, which you also have to correspond with staff through. So it makes it hard to share with my coworkers if we're working together. Dylan, I think that's for you.
Yeah, so I didn't dig too deep into this in my intro to Muckrock, but Muckrock does help you do that. So right now, Muckrock requests cost, I think, if you're on an individual account, $20 for 5 requests, and then we have organizational accounts. The reason for that is because in these sort of scenarios, our support staff does all the back end work. They'll put everything into the portal for you. You'll just see the feed on Muckrock. They also do this if the agency asks for you to submit it through PDF or snail mail, or if you need to send checks. I'm happy I never have to go to the post office at lunch to send checks to agencies in different states. They'll send the check for you as well. Like everything stays in Muckrock, but our support staff on the back end is handling all the logistics of different requests. So again, like I said, you can just copy language from Muckrock and file it through your own email. That's free. Every request that is public on Muckrock is there for that reason. But the cost of Muckrock, the tool, is for the support staff to be handling all those. We even have someone in person at a PO box who goes and picks up all the mail we get in person every week and scans it, or all the USB drives and all the kind of random things we get in snail mail from agencies across the country. What I will say as well is that Document Cloud is completely free for journalists. So while Muckrock has that fee attached to it for the support staff, Document Cloud is completely free, and you also get that with a free Muckrock account.
We have another question from Christine, who says your work is amazing. Thank you. What are the advocacy-oriented applications of these records you would like to see? Have you heard of jurisdictions changing their processes in any way in response to these requests?
Um, yeah, I think Muckrock, we really like to believe that transparency is an intervention. Just like you said, that Christine, that if jurisdictions knew, or if the people of a given jurisdiction knew how money was being spent before all of it was spent, they could intervene and have a voice in whether that was being spent in the ways that they wanted it to or not. So I think at a very high level, that's exactly what Muckrock at least would like to see, is that transparency isn't something that happens after the fact when something bad has already happened, when the money has already been spent and the community is disappointed, but that it can happen in the moment when it's needed and change direction if, for example, a county has spent large amounts of money on priorities that the public actually doesn't share.
Any final questions? We still have a couple more minutes to drop in the chat. While you all are doing that or thinking of any final things to share, I will remind you all that, again, to sign up for our newsletter, Reporting on Addiction will be sharing out the recording of today's call in our newsletter tomorrow. But also, we have a handful of resources to help you cover this topic in your community. And all of those are also available on our website, which my colleague Rachel is going to drop a link in the chat for you. We specifically, when it comes to covering the opioid lawsuit money, have resources. We have a Slack that is a community of journalists who are sharing good reporting, sharing reporting tips, asking questions of each other. So for the journalists on the call, it's a really good place to see what's happening in other parts of the country when it comes to this money. And also, we've got some digital security and whistleblower resources. If you're someone who's working in a place where you know how this spending is happening and you want to talk to a journalist, but maybe you're not quite ready to go public with or be on the record about those things. So again, Rachel has dropped that in the chat for some resources. Some final questions we've got coming in from Alan about changing processes. It surprised me to see that Mingo County has an application process. Mingo County, West Virginia, as of 2022, I heard the county commission planned to spend most of its money on its jail bills, so that could be a credit to this project. Alan, we are going to have some reporting coming out here in the next week and a half to 2 weeks from our students about some of that spending. Keep an eye out for it. I know you're in our Slack and I will share it in our Slack. I think there are going to be some really interesting stories that might surprise you a little bit, or it might be exactly what you think they're going to be. And then Kylie says these requests were obviously made through the county level, but is there any way you'd recommend replicating this at the state level? Dylan, I think I'm going to send that to you.
I might send it right back to you actually,
Yeah.
because I'm not as familiar now that we spent the time in the county level. But I know you have a better idea of what you can actually get at the state level, I think.
Yeah, so Kylie, I'm not 100% familiar with Kansas, and maybe Jonathan knows a little bit more. I hate to put him on the spot, but in West Virginia, we have that structure of state level where they created a nonprofit. Nonprofit is handling all of the state level money. So there is one singular entity at the state level in West Virginia that we could have FOIA'd. We chose not to do that. We chose to do the county level because reporters in West Virginia seem to have a handle on that state level funding. Now, again, that's for West Virginia only. But for us, we could absolutely have gone through the Muckrock process to file at that state level. It just would have been only one entity for us to FOIA, and it is this kind of agency that was set up in West Virginia to handle the state level funds. Jonathan, I hate to put you on the spot about Kansas,
No,
but
you're good.
no.
Yeah, I my response is easy. FOIA them all. Whether it's the state, the county, or any of your municipalities, just get all the information that's available, or all the information that you can from a FOIA request, and you'll be surprised to see what's in there. Ashton's reporting and the students reporting in the class has shown there's some pretty funky stuff going on at the county level, but and I think, gosh, Kylie, what is the name of the one in Kansas? They kind of have a similar structure actually, but just FOIA everyone.
We
And
have,
Muckrock is the way to do it.
yeah, we have the state, and they have 75% of settlement funds. The Kansas Fights Addiction Board, is the one who ultimately decides where those funds go. The Sunflower Foundation and the Kansas Attorney General's office is the one that kind of has been guiding that board through the process. But then the remaining 25% of the funds, go down to the, basically counties and municipalities in the state.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so I'd get it all. Get it all.
well, yeah. Which is like difficult, right? Because there's so many different entities and so many different places. I will say that doing it through Muckrock allowed us to kind of replicate and repeat the request. We had 55 counties in West Virginia that we were making requests of. And counties that are like some of them highly resourced and ready to go, and some that were like, we don't use email, please call this phone number. So like all lot wide spectrum here, right? Which I'm sure you would experience in Kansas too. Um, I think that that state level FOIA and doing it through Muckrock is probably a really easy place to start. see where you can get a win in that request, and then just copy and paste it to every county. That's what I would say. Okay.
And do reach out to me if you do that. I'd love to talk to you more. Yeah, we want to expand this reporting, and so I sent the accounts page for signing up to Muckrock. That's generally how much it costs, but we can also figure out a deal for your newsroom that's specific to just making sure this reporting gets replicated, because that's a huge priority for us. So hit me up, and we can talk more.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I know that we've hit time. I'm going to share one final thing with you. In 4 states, reporting on addiction has received a little bit of grant funding to expand this process to 4 additional states this year. And we have a micro grant out. So if you are somebody in Kentucky, Maine, New Jersey, or New York, and you are working on covering the opioid settlement funds, our micro grant applications are open through June 15th. We're looking at like $750 to $1,000 for these micro grants, and we would love to help folks do this type of reporting. Even if you're not in these states, though, please reach out to us if you need help, if you'd like to repeat this in your newsroom, if you want to create a collaborative across a couple of newsrooms to try to repeat this process. Reporting on addiction is here to help you with that. Muckrock is here to help you with that. So please let us know. Again, I know we've gone a little bit over time, so thank you all so much for being with us today. We'll share out the recording with you all tomorrow so that you can send it around. But thank you again, everybody, for your time. Thanks to Dylan, thanks to Drew, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.